It was at this moment, with the sun on my face and the crisp ocean air on my skin, that I understood the allure of Santa Barbara. Being transferred here must have felt like heaven after the lives were all settled, and leaving here must have felt like the end of the world. Back in those days, real estate was relatively affordable in this area. These guys made a decent living, and with proper money management, could have lived a life that would have appeared by many to be that of celebrity profile.
Behind every successful man is a strong woman. I know that sounds cliche, but in this instance, it's true. Santa Barbara was an enormous transition for the families that relocated there. Very few were familiar with the California lifestyle. Some of these families were from other countries, not just different zip codes. Earlier we spoke of the responsibilities that were felt by Rachel Friedman when her husband Don recruited all these men and their families, and they were thrust into relocating to Santa Barbara. It was a daunting task, to say the least. Rachel Friedman worked side by side with her husband and other charter members of the General Motors Defense Laboratories at Avion.
It was a small company in North Jersey, Paramus, New Jersey, whose claim to fame was that they worked with Howard Wilcox, who was at Channel Lake at the time, to develop and reduce to practice the Sidewinder missile. And Don Friedman was the lead engineer at Avion for that project. And he, together with Wilcox in California, did an amazing job of testing, building, designing that Sidewinder missile. It was done on an amazingly low budget, whereas future air-to-air missiles that were built all cost billions. This one was done for a song and a dance.
She was there on that proverbial day that men in this story followed Don to their new careers. She knew the demands that would be felt by the husbands doing military research, and she wanted to create an environment that would make these men successful at work. And there's no better way to accomplish this than to keep them happy at home. And if you want to keep everyone happy at home, you make the wives happy. That can't be done without a fearless leader. A wife's patriarch was in order. Rachel would take it upon herself to create a miniature society within the General Motors Defense Laboratories that would act as a social support system for the families. If you needed something, you asked Rachel. If you had questions that were embarrassing to ask, you asked Rachel. If you're having a problem with anyone outside the circle, you told Rachel. Rachel only followed one rule. Everyone will respect and love one another. She devoted her life to this at the time. To weekend barbecues and social functions. To chasing down school buses that newly transitioning mothers could not find. She was the glue. Everyone loved her. She had the direct line to Howie Wilcox. Don shared everything with her every night after work. He was destined for greatness, and she helped him navigate the pitfalls. It was a quintessential melting pot. There was June Agrawal and her kids. June was a Southern belle from Georgia that married a man from India that felt the need to transport all his remaining family here from India and arrange for their educations. That's pretty complicated. Then there was Mary Salehi and her daughter. She was a little easier. She had parents from Santa Barbara. You had that pistol from Cuba, Josephine Worth, and she had 2 kids. She was a firecracker.
John was transferred to Santa Barbara, and we moved out there, and that was beautiful. It really was nice living there. I had already met some of the people from General Motors, and we had a little close group that we socialized with. Don Friedman and Rachel and the Romanos and the Cantys. So it was nice, and Santa Barbara was beautiful. We liked it there. We bought a Spanish-style house that was very pretty.
There was the Pavlik family, the Romano family, the Colton family, the Johnston family. The list went on and on.
One friend who did not work on the original electric automobile project was Sam Romano. He and I had both worked at Armour before coming to GM. They had both worked at Avion Corporation before coming to GM. So we were close friends. But Sam Romano, of course, eventually ended up being the manager for the Lunar Rover program at GM. So we were good friends. We had a lot of parties, and my wife was one of the organizers of the parties. She was a bit of a mother hen for many of the other wives. Partly, she had one big advantage, unlike any of the other couples who moved to Santa Barbara from elsewhere. She was able to bring her parents to live with us in Santa Barbara. So she had some backup at home and was able to spend more time socializing and helping the others. And of course feeling less lonely than many of the other wives whose husbands were working many hours a day and coming home very tired at night.
Right.
As these stories were told to us, I found myself experiencing the storylines of the astronaut wives that had been on television several times, without the infidelity. She held them together, that's for sure. And all these ladies need to be remembered for their individual contributions. We were talking about some of the greatest accomplishments of the 20th century, and everyone knows behind every successful man is a strong, independent woman. Thanks, ladies.